This is a video about the Christian foundation of the United States. This is a part 2. If you'd like to see part 1, click right here. The constructors of the strict separatist myth that permeates society today find so little evidence from the founders in state papers and legal opinions that they've instead chosen to build their entire house of historical straw upon their own loose interpretations of the intimate examinations of the founders' personal faith. Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, these are often the names you hear used as puppets in the secularist stage show, because these men, like so many, spent their long lives arguing, investigating, debating over the nature of God and the meaning of His Word. Their non-conventional Christian faith is stretched, exaggerated, forged into generalizations about the founders and their relationship with God in general. Like the widely trumpeted lie that the founders of this great nation were deists and not Christians. Deists are those who believe God exists and created the world but then walked away and assumed no control over it. However, the founders, very much including Franklin and Jefferson, excessively cited God's control over this world and the extraordinary events that engulfed their lives. They endlessly cited the supernatural hand in their own lives and made every effort to decipher and determine the divine will. In fact, in George Washington's first inaugural address, nearly the first words ever spoken as a nation were fervent supplications to the Almighty Being who, pay attention, rules over the universe. Our nation's first official act explicitly rejects deist ideas, moreover destroying the deceitful lies of modern separatists. When designing this nation's very seal, it was actually Jefferson and Franklin's suggestions that were biblical, desiring the image of Moses standing on the shore, extending his hands over the sea, with a fitting motto, "Rebellion to tyrants is obedience to God." By today's standards, the so-called atheist Thomas Paine would be a regular guest on James Dobson's Focus on the Family. Paine insisted that the public schools must concentrate on the study of the Christian God, no matter what their theological disagreements and doubts might have been. The authors of this nation shared a united and unambiguous opinion about the role of religion and the vital influence it must play over a free people. Our founders, those men, they stood in the sharpest contrast to today's militant secular atheists, who fear God's word and the foundation of this nation more than they do this nation's very tangible enemies. While secularists continuously ring the alarms over fictional boogeymen like the threat of theocracy, in actuality our founders looked on with dread and horror as the rule of unbelief played out bloody in the French Revolution. These are the secularist ideas put into motion. This only touches upon the tip of America's legacy and roots, foundation firm in the Christian faith. America was, is, and will always be a Christian nation, and it doesn't matter how many times they hit you with the redundancy of their lies. This nation is a Christian nation. It will always be a Christian nation. Our history reads clear as a bell. They're just banking on the fact that you won't read it. For all their scare tactics, it's actually secular militants who are extreme and ultimately tyrannical. They are the ones who are on offense. They are the ones that are constantly attempting to remake and reshape the very nature of this country, attempting to remake a nation unidentifiable to its founders and its citizens. For over 50 years, separatists have been given free rein to bleed America's religious lifeblood dry. The result is an America fractured and flatlined on their radical separatist operating table. If it's true, despite any evidence or inclination that the founders actually intended to create a secular and not Christian society and nation, it's abundantly clear that they radically failed. America is the most God-fearing religious country on the planet, and although this might not apply to atheists, secular extremists, separatists of the worst kind, most Americans don't feel like a failure. Christians have never in this country desired anything that even resembles a theocracy or a coup, a religious takeover of your life. Only the further blessings of a Creator who has shed His grace from sea to shining sea for generations. Take it to the bank.